made it home, I dug her out, then I made her one of my aces. Marijuana fragrance, this tree here is outrageous. Want me to play in your city? Send an email to my agent.
The Miami Marlins have decided to shake things up at the trade deadline. Yasiel Puig will be going over to Texas for Derek Holland and Jim Johnson. Johnson being a throw-in. Both of these guys are expiring contracts and will hit free agency after this season. I'll talk about that in a sec. Then we have another blockbuster deal. Starlin Castro is going to Boston for Xander Bogaerts, Christian Vasquez, and Joe Benson, and a potential pitching prospect who could become our 5th starter for the future. We'll talk about these trades in just a moment. Anyway, here you can see we're going to be going up against the Milwaukee Brewers in this episode. This is going to be an early August game. Derek Holland will be going up against Willie Peralta. So let's break down the trades a little bit, shall we? So Yasiel Puig, I mentioned trading him before for a potential 5th starter. We basically do that. Derek Holland was the best available starter that I showed you guys. He's on a 1-year contract though, or I should say this is the last year of his contract. The other option would have been a guy like Trevor Gale, who's locked up for 2 more years after this one. And that could have been an option, but I liked Derek Holland for the stretch run. I actually like having some roster flexibility as well. I don't, it's good to have guys locked up on multi-year deals when you're a team that's kind of financially constrained like the Miami Marlins are. But I do like having some roster flexibility heading into next season, even if we don't necessarily have a ton of budget flexibility. There are definitely ways to work around this. Now, Jim Johnson was a throw-in. I was deciding between him and a potential closer, and I decided to go with Jim Johnson, who's going to become our eighth inning setup man. And I'm pretty happy about that. We could potentially re-sign him, especially if our oldest Chapman hits free agency and decides to take a big contract elsewhere, because I'm really not keen on signing closers to huge deals. So anyway, Corey Hart gets this game started with a solo home run off of Derek Holland. But anyway, that's a pretty good trade in my opinion. We called up Vinny Machado. He's going to be our starting left fielder. He's going to probably platoon with Jason Kubel, because Jason Kubel did so well while Logan Morrison was hurt. And then in the other trade, this was a split decision on Twitter, and this is why you guys should follow me on Twitter. I was like, hey, should I trade Starlin Castro for Xander Bogaerts and prospects? And everyone said yes. I don't think there was a single person who told me no. Starlin Castro, he's on a very favorable contract for a player of his caliber, but he often does not play up to that caliber. He's only hitting 262, he had 253 last season, and really has just struggled ever since becoming a Miami Marlin, outside of hitting almost, I think he had 290 in his first season with the team. But either way, he really just, I don't know, he hasn't done much since becoming on the team, and once again gives us a little bit of roster flexibility. Look at this throw by Giancarlo Stanton. He is out at the plate by a mile, but it gives us roster flexibility. It gives us a little bit more budget to work with coming up into the offseason. Could help us sign Giancarlo Stanton, who I did not decide to trade. I'm going to pull out all the stops to try and re-sign him this upcoming season. But anyway, and we get Xander Bogaerts back. Bogaerts is a top prospect for the Boston Red Sox in real life. He is probably going, well, I hope he's going to be called up shortly for the team. His little hit and run action here, Sano is going to end up doubling this one into the gap, and Soler is going to come around and score. Thought I'd just break off the commentary for a sec, but anyway, so we get Xander Bogaerts, a shortstop for the future for us. He has 4 years of service time left, 4 years of team control left after this season. Christian Vasquez, the guy batting here, he walks, and he is a really good backup catcher. We released John Buck. And John Buck would really, he'd really regressed in this game. He was down to like a 59 overall, and he had 1 more year left on his contract, I think. So I decided to just outright release him. This might have been the last year of his contract. I can't quite remember, but either way, so we get Christian Vasquez, who is a prospect for the Red Sox. He's an extremely good fielder. He can come off the bench and just throw guys out in the 9th inning, help us defensively. So I think it's going to be a really good backup catcher. And then Benson, like I said, could be a potential 5th starter of the future. He's in a potential, like 20 years old, 70 overall, I believe. So we'll see what comes out of him. Anyway, I like Bogaerts a lot. He has nice contact ratings. He's only 23 years old or something like that in this. And he's already in 90 overall. Castro was a 97, so we didn't lose too much in terms of overall. So I'm really happy with the Xander Bogaerts trade, and I love Xander Bogaerts in real life. I'm hoping he can become the shortstop of the future for the Boston Red Sox. For at least the next 6 years of however team control they have him. But anyway, so hopefully he'll become the future shortstop for us in this franchise. But either way, nice trade. It's on both ends, I believe. Now, we do lack a little bit of offense, and obviously we're past the trade deadline, so we can't really do much about that. If I have an opportunity to go out and get an extra bat, maybe I will. We don't have anyone hitting over 300 in our lineup at this point. Not that we had anyone hitting over 300 before we made both those trades. Puig was only hitting 250. Castro was at 260. So Bogarts is around 240 at this point. It's only his second Major League season, so that's expected to go up. And then Vinny Machado has done okay since being called up. He was hitting 240 with 3 home runs in his first 2 weeks of play coming into this game. So we'll see where that goes. I'm hoping that we can have some guys step up. Stanton's right around 300. Soler and Sano are both around 280, 290. So that's really the big core of our lineup, and hopefully we can, hopefully those guys will keep progressing. But either way, we'll see where it goes. That's not a huge concern at this point, although Willie Peralta is having a field day against our offense today. As you can see, it's bottom 4, I believe. My preview screen is actually really bad quality right now because of a mistake I made when I recorded this. So I actually can't quite tell what the ending is, but I believe it's bottom of the 4th, and Machado pops up right there. And now later in the inning, you can see Christian Vasquez is up to 2-0 count, I think. I can sort of see it, but not really. He lines that one out to Gene Segura. And Segura is a guy that I thought about trading. I really started exploring Starlin Castro trades kind of towards before I was going to record this episode, and I started tweeting out like, hey, I'm shopping Starlin Castro. Be aware for some updates possibly. And I ended up eventually doing the Bogarts deal. But like I said, we had I had a Gene Segura trade. I had who was it? I had a Jed Lowry trade, who's actually a 91 overall right now and is a really good hitter in this franchise. Thought that would have been an interesting addition. So he's also a multi-year contract player, which, like I said, helps us. But Bogarts is better for the future. I really like Bogarts a lot more in real life. And that was the 6th inning, I guess, not the 4th. So anyway, here we go. Derek Collins still on the mound, still doing pretty well. Jonathan Lucroy, though, was going to get a single right there. Then weak throw to first, obviously. Can't get guys out first in this game. Although I did once 3 weeks ago, and I was very shocked by it. But anyway, they patched that last year, and it's pretty much out of the game this year. That's going to be a deep fly ball to left center field. That one is going to be gone, so the Brewers take a 3-1 lead. Sorry I haven't talked about too much gameplay yet this episode. Like I said, I felt like I needed to break down those trades. I know I get a lot of questions in the comments asking, why did you do this trade? Why did you do that trade? But anyway, I left a fastball right over the middle right there. Or it might have been a curveball. Gutierrez just took that one long gone. So we strike out Segura to end the inning. Holland goes 7 strong. Had a couple mistakes, allowed 2 home runs, but honestly, 3 runs over 7 innings. Quite fine, especially out of a guy he's probably our 3rd starter at this point, but he slotted in there at that 5th spot, and it's great at this point. I mean, Nicolino's still in the rotation when Jose Fernandez gets back healthy. Nicolino will probably go to the bullpen, but I'm really liking our rotation right now. That is going to be deadly come playoff time. That's why I'm really excited to get to the playoffs. I'm not too concerned about our offense. Jim Johnson in here, runner on first. He's going to induce the little pop-out right there. And Jim Johnson pitches a successful 8th inning in his first, well, actually not his first appearance, but the first time I'm using him as a Miami Marlin. So here's Xander Bogaerts, gets hit right there, up and in pitch. Well, I don't know what that was. I'm sure he wasn't trying to intentionally, put the first guy on base, but it's going to be a ground ball past the diving Gene Segura, so now we're going to get runners on first and second in this 8th inning. Willie Peralta still in the game. Maybe time to take him out. We'll see. I started to work the count a little bit here towards the end of the game. They're going to bring in a new pitcher, and the next batter, Giancarlo Stanton, would end up getting out. So it's going to be first and third with 2 outs here. Logan Morrison is up now, the 0-1 count. And Morrison hits that to third base. He will fire it on to the second baseman for the force out, and that will retire the side. So the Brewers take a 3-1 lead into the 9th. Now in the bottom of the 9th inning, John Axford will come in, and he will try to shut the door on this game for the Brewers. He's been removed from the closer role in real life. That is currently, I believe, Jim Henderson closing for the Brewers in real life right now, but they have a pretty deep bullpen. Obviously, Jim Henderson's on our team, so we induce a walk right here by Jorge Soler. Good job of working the count, trying to get that relief retired. So the next batter is going to be Miguel Sano, 2 guys I talked about earlier, and Sano is going to induce a walk of his own. So bad control so far from John Axford. Now still no outs in the inning. Here comes Vinny Machado, huge situation for the youngster, and he's going to end up grounding this one to the second baseman. It's going to be a diving stop. He will flip it on to first. It's over his head. 1 run is going to come around and score. The catcher, Lucroy's over it to it. He'll throw it to third. It's over Valencia's head. The second run will come home and score. He is going to be safe at the plate, and the Marlins tie the game up at 3 on one of the craziest plays I have ever seen in MLB 13 the show. Let's take a look at this one once again on the replay. So obviously Machado up to bat. He grounds this one to the second baseman. Diving stop, very impressive play. Probably saved the run originally, but flips it over Corey Hart's head at first base. So Jonathan Lucroy is going to have to run over and track it down. And now once he picks it up, he fires it to Danny Valencia at third base. But Valencia could not field that one. That goes into left field. The second run will come all the way around and score as the throw was offline. Looked like it would have been in time, but Axford had to kind of, you know, move to the left a little bit to make that catcher. Here's the next batter, Rob Bramley. That is going to get up the middle for a base hit, and the Miami Marlins are going to come home with the victory. A little Miami Marlin magic right here. I know the Red Sox have deemed themselves walk-off city so far in real life in Major League Baseball, but hey, maybe we'll have to take that crown over in this franchise. Rob Bramley gets the walk-off. So anyway, that's pretty much going to wrap up this video. Crazy game, crazy ending. I don't know, something about this game just made me like really want to play more MLB The Show. I've been playing it like crazy the last couple days, ever since I played this. But anyway, that is going to wrap up this video. So I thank you guys for watching. Hope you did enjoy. So I'm out. Peace.